It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chillie Falls.
Good morning. Welcome to Friday Travel and Cruise Industry News on this, the 25th day of November 2022, coming to you from Bedford County in Central Virginia area. Couple stories today. Of course, the main story, which actually made mainstream media for a change, but Coast Guard finds a missing passenger. We're going to talk about all that we know at this point and some questions that I have about this story. Also today, the MSC arrives in Saudi Arabia. Canadian port inks a deal with a major operator. And the maiden call for the MSC Seascape, and a whole lot more here at 11 o'clock this morning. If you're listening via the podcast, welcome aboard. I will point out to you folks listening on the podcast that today is National Parfait Day. I can do a parfait every now and then. I used to make them all the time. Those of you that don't know, so let's say you're making a creme de menthe parfait. You get a parfait glass, which is a little kind of skinny ice cream glass, and you pour a little of the creme de menthe in the bottom of the glass, and then you put some ice cream and you just kind of squish it down on top of the creme de menthe, and it squirts up the sides of the ice cream and makes the green and white swirls. It's kind of neat. Of course, you're always welcome here if you listen via the podcast. You can always access the podcast via my blog, which is accessadventure.net, or wherever you get your podcasts from. All the big guys, just search for Travel and Cruise Industry News, and voila, up pops the fat travel guy. All right, before I get to some pictures and clips from other folks that traveled yesterday, I do have a couple of announcements to make this morning. First of all, and most importantly, Monday show this coming week, the day after, this is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. The next show that I'm scheduled to do is going to go live at 10 a.m. rather than 11 a.m. It will be up for replay at 11 in case you're come in at normal time. The reason for that is I realized that the pulmonary folks had never called back with my follow-up appointment to get the results from the echocardiogram that I had done week before last. So I called them and I said, when am I supposed to come in to get the results from this? I also want to talk to him about this $400 a month inhaler that I'm paying for out of pocket. And they said, oh, yeah, we have you scheduled to come in to see him in April. I said, what? Oh, yeah, we have you scheduled in April. I said, no. I had the echocardiogram. I need to talk to the doctor. You're going to see me now. So they said, well, the only thing we have is at 11:45 on Monday. I said, do you have anything in the afternoon? No. If you can't make it at 11:45 Monday, we can't see you till April. I'm not going to tell you what I told the lady, but I said, I'll be there. It wasn't very nice, very Christian. I don't like these people. Anyway, so I'll do the show Monday at 10. For those of you that are available an hour earlier, fine, hop in. You can have the normal chat room. if you watch the show at 11 on Monday, you're going to be, without a chat room. All right, now that announcement, of course, was for everybody that's watching this show. And there are several sources where, I have a multi venue show here. My largest audience is my podcast audience, which is why I tell you guys every day something, usually about how you can access the show, all those things. My second largest segment is via Twitter. Those are folks that are watching this show on Twitter. Now, I'm going to specifically say something to the Twitter followers. So if you're watching this via YouTube or Facebook, or you're listening via the podcast, now you can tune out for a second if you'd like, because this message is specifically for the guys at Twitter. They're watching on Twitter. If you fit into that category, guys, I have debated on what to do about the Twitter situation. I personally am not in agreement with some of Elon Musk's movements that he's made. However, I feel that your segment of my audience is large enough that I want to make sure that you're covered on this deal, because I don't know what's going to happen with Twitter. And let's say the absolute worst, that he runs it in the ground and it shuts down. So just in case beforehand, if you're listening via Twitter, I'll put a link in the description of the show so you can hop over to YouTube, subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Just so you're covered if something happens with Twitter and you want to keep up with what's going on in the travel and cruise world, that'll give you the opportunity just to switch over to a different venue. Now, the reason that I'm not flashing that up on the show itself is I know Twitter would be upset that I'm giving a link out on the Twitter broadcast to send somebody to a different venue. So, but you can look at the description of the show on Twitter, and the link will be in the description. So just follow it to YouTube, or you can just go to YouTube and search for Chillie's, CHILLIE''S, the longest way possible, Chillie's Cruises, plural. You can get me that way, and then just hit the subscribe button. So that way you're covered in case something happens with Twitter. All right, I have several things to go over before we get to the news today from folks that were traveling. I was debating who to start off with, so I think I'm going to start off with Katie and Angela. They had another formal night for Thanksgiving, and there again is Angela in another fabulous outfit. I did get an answer back from Katie. She says, Angela travels with a lot of suitcases. I said, I can believe that. And they had just a good old turkey dinner to celebrate Thanksgiving. Actually, the turkey looks pretty good. Looks better than the turkey I had yesterday. That's a whole different story. Maybe on a day when it's not so busy. And that's Angela, of course. I believe that might be one of the one of the dining room bosses. Katie, of course, I believe that's the two waiters. And with Katie, and then with Angela as well. They do cruises upright, guys. All right, our buddy Patty Grant. I have a feeling this was she went to the buffet on Celebrity Apex. Keep in mind that Patty is one of those people that eats like out of a thimble. She had the surgery and she just doesn't eat much anymore. So that's not a big, massive Thanksgiving plate, but she said this was more than enough for her. That was on the Celebrity Apex. Let's see what else I got in here. Mr. Bucket List was on Margaritaville at Sea Paradise. He hasn't posted anything yet about the food, the Thanksgiving special dinners, but he was on it for Thanksgiving, which is actually the first Thanksgiving he sailed. So we'll look forward to what Justin has to say about that. Now that brings us up to Hot Air Tom and Cindy. They flew from Richmond into Denver. This is a shot at the airport in Denver. And then if I've got these in the right order, this was takeoff from Denver on their way to Hawaii.
We're going to take off right at the mountain. That's the plane turning, not me moving the camera.
And that was Hot Air Tom in the air again out of Denver. And I have to admit, folks, the first time I watched that, I'm thinking, get that damn plane off the ground. Let's go. So thank you, Hot Air Tom, for that. And then this is kind of lengthy for what's there.
There's the coastline. You can make it down there through the area. Oahu would be the eastern coastline. Got a good dense cloud, so it's pretty clear most of it across the Pacific. That you could see the water until about 15 minutes ago.
All right, I'm going to cut part of that off because it does go on and on and on and on. And talking about flying over the water, you know, this is actually closer to landing. But the first part of this is just how you spend your time flying over the Pacific. Hot Air Tom does talk in here.
Hoping we'd see something. Just a lot of little white wave caplets.
Wave caplets. That's a new one to me.
got a tour boat, looks like, coming up maybe. Unless it's a cargo, can't quite. Diamond Head in the edge. Walker Keys coming into view. Welcome to Hawaii, everybody.
All right, so Hot Air Tom and Cindy are in Hawaii. Now, I got to jump back over here because I didn't share with you what it's like to be in first class. You guys know I'm tight as a tick when it comes to spending money. I've never sat in first class before, but this is Hot Air Tom and Cindy. And look at this. That's this, of course, to Cindy. Look at this room that Cindy has. I mean, she's laid back a little in the chair. Look at all that room, but in her for her feet and legs. And Cindy's not any little tiny thing. I mean, Cindy's she's not obviously not as tall as Hot Air Tom, but still, that's a lot of room. So I was impressed with that. And Hot Air Tom did say that the third meal, he finally had some meat, and that was a pretty nice looking burger. So it was pretty tasty as well. So that's Hot Air Tom and Cindy on their way to Hawaii. I'm sure we're going to have something from them every day as these travels develop. All right, that's going to wrap up this portion of the show. I'll be back with today's news after a word from one of our network sponsors. All right, guys, we start off today with kind of a strange story. A male guest on the Carnival Valor, whose name has not been released to safeguard the family's privacy, was reported missing at approximately noon on Thanksgiving Day. Pay close attention to the timeline as I lay it out, okay? The last time the individual was seen was at a bar on board with his sister. According to her, he left the bar to find a restroom at approximately 11 p.m. on Wednesday. All right. 11 p.m. on Wednesday. He did not return to his room overnight. He was described as a white male wearing blue jeans, a blue shirt, and gray tennis shoes. No information was available about whether or not the brother and sister were sharing a stateroom, or if there were any indications of trouble, foul play, or inebriation that could contribute to a possible overboard. So at noon the next day, he's reported missing. That in itself is not that unusual. Carnival Valor retraced its route and the United States Coast Guard commenced a search. Receiving a call from the cruise ship around 2:30 p.m. yesterday, the Coast Guard launched a multi-crew search effort by air and sea. Coast Guard Lieutenant Philip Vanderwelt said in a statement, after the man was spotted by a crew on another vessel, an MH-60 Jayhawk helicopter air crew hoisted the man onto the helicopter. So said Officer Vanderwelt. The passenger was found alive in the water and was responsive. His condition is not known as of this morning, at least. He was transferred to awaiting emergency medical personnel at New Orleans Lakefront Airport. The U.S. Coast Guard is expected to release more information on Friday. The round-trip cruise left New Orleans Wednesday. It will sail to Cozumel and Progreso. It was supposed to get in Cozumel at 6 a.m. this morning, or maybe it was 8 a.m. this morning. They're not expected to get there until 1 p.m. this afternoon now. And it returns back to New Orleans on Monday. Now, the problem that I have with this is that on the mainstream media today, they were interviewing somebody from the Coast Guard. I did not get the name of the person they were interviewing, but he was talking about what a miraculous thing this was, and it was a Thanksgiving miracle, all those nice platitudes. And it's just amazing that this guy withstood 12 hours in the water. Now, here's where I got some problems about this story. The man was not seen after 11:30. Now, yes, he could have been wandering around the ship, lost or drunk for a number of hours, but you would think one of the cameras would have caught him somewhere. I mean, they have security cameras all over these cruise ships, especially over like the Valor. I mean, that's a fairly modern ship. There's at least been no talk about any video footage of him. It was reported at noon the next day. Then it was 2:30 before the ship contacted the Coast Guard. So that 2 hours or 2.5 hours, I could readily see that they're searching the ship, trying to find the guy. I mean, they're checking behind all the plants to make sure he hasn't crawled back behind something and passed out. Checking all the lounge chairs to see who's laid out drunk. I mean, you know what Carnival cruise ships can be like if you got a party crowd. So I could well see that's some time that the search was going on. But the way so the Coast Guard gets pulled into it. It's got to take some time for them to get to the area to do the search. In the meantime, the Valor turned around and retraced its footprint. There again, that takes some time. And then somebody spots the guy, they send the helicopter, and they get him out of the water. How long did all that take? I mean, let's say 2:30, if somebody spotted it right away at 2:30, and they sent a helicopter from wherever the helicopter was, it's got to at least be at 20, 30 minutes, doesn't it? So that puts it at the absolute earliest, 3 o'clock. So if the guy went overboard when he went stumbling around trying to find a bathroom at 11:30 p.m., if all this stuff is true now, I mean, the way I count it, that's 14, 15 hours bare minimum. What the hell is this guy talking about 12 hours the guy spent in the water? That just doesn't add up to me. And one of the problems, folks, I mean, I'm an old school reporter. I've been in all three branches of the media: radio, television, and newspaper. Old school. When I was doing a story, when I was out on a story, you always did the 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why. On every story. If you couldn't answer the 5 W's, you didn't write the story. Nobody asked the guy that the original statement was, oh, well, what time was the guy rescued? What time did he come out of the water? Now, I'm not disputing the veracity of the story. I'm just saying, number one, the Coast Guard guy should not be making statements like that to the mass media unless he can back it up. And to me, there's no way they can back up that the guy was in the water for 12 hours unless he was conscious enough and speaking enough to say, oh yeah, I tried to kill myself at 3. It's now 3, so I was in the water 12 hours. This factually does not add up in my pea brain. That's all. It's a good story. It's terrific that the guy was rescued. I'm not disputing that. I'm not downgrading it at all. I'm just saying, come on, get the facts right. The same thing I tell, Tony and Don. They do stories all the time that don't have the facts right on it, and then they've got to correct it. All right, I'm off my rant now. MSC Splendida arrived in Saudi Arabian port of Jeddah on her inaugural visit to the kingdom, marking the start of the 3rd season of sailings in the Red Sea. The call from MSC Cruises cruise ship is part of the Saudi Arabian initiative to bring more cruise ships to the country, which has been closed to tourism for many years. MSC Cruises is steadily building up its presence in the Middle East and is currently the biggest cruise operator in the region. Other cruise lines that will visit Jeddah this year include Viking Silver Seas and Fred Olsen. Congratulations to MSC and to the Splendida, starting a season in the Red Sea. The vast amount of cruise passengers that sail to Alaska each year is potentially attractive for port operators in the region, especially as more well-known ports suffer from congestion in May to October, when Alaska cruise season is at its busiest. Although Prince Rupert only registered 41,000 cruise passengers this last year, the port hopes to increase that number significantly over the next 10 years. To achieve that goal, the city government signed a 10-year deal with the largest cruise port operator worldwide. That, of course, is Global Ports Holdings. For now, Global Ports Holdings will focus on the marketing side, attracting more cruise ships to the port. The company believes traffic to Prince Rupert will double next year to around 80,000 passengers. Both Carnival and Princess Cruises have already booked cause to that city. Although the deal with Global Ports Holding will bring a significant increase in cruise tourism to the port of Prince Rupert, the city does not aim to grow as big and busy as some of the ports in Alaska, which often see more than 1 million visitors each year. The main aim for the port will be to take advantage of the growing congestion in the Alaskan ports, giving guests a more relaxed port experience than they would get further north. Prince Rupert will be the first North American port that Global Port Holdings runs. The company operates 26 cruise ports in 14 countries and is the biggest cruise port operator worldwide. Prince Rupert's position north of Vancouver and only a few miles from Ketchikan ensures it is perfectly positioned to take advantage of the spillover of the Alaska cruise season. It also allows cruise operators to make a vital call outside the United States without needing to sail to Canadian ports much further to the south. So, again, the way my brain thinks, folks, and I have no problem at all with Prince Rupert expanding. I've never been to Prince Rupert. I have no idea what the port's like. But I can certainly see a need, especially if it's a need that's still close to Alaska. If it's that close to Ketchikan, then how about cruises that come out of Anchorage? Maybe you could do now a round tripper from Anchorage instead of having to send Anchorage to Vancouver and do the reverse, send Vancouver ships to Anchorage, so that you still, meet the regulations of that 1835 stupid law that they still won't take off the books, which to me is, again, the idiots in Washington, both sides. I'm not making a political statement, folks. I'm talking collectively, Republicans and Democrats, conservatives and liberals. I'm lumping them into a hole. The idiots in Washington that still think you have to have this 1835 act on the line because nobody can get together to figure out that we'd be better off without the stupid law now. Anyway, it's way outdated. Again, that's my feelings, folks. But anyway, I see Anchorage doing round trippers that come back to Anchorage that maybe go considerably, come down and go to Prince Rupert, which is closer, much closer, and then circle back to the north. We could be opening up a whole new section of Alaska for the main Alaska cruise folks that have always been pretty much stuck to Juneau, Ketchikan, and Skagway. Yeah, and maybe one other port in there. I mean, there are a few places along that part of the world, smaller ports that are now starting to expand. But still, let's face it, 95% of the cruises to Alaska go to Juneau, Ketchikan, and Skagway. Those are the three mains. So I see that as being a really good thing. The other thing, and I think it's wonderful for the city forefathers and forebears and foremothers or whatever the hell they are, that are saying, well, we don't want to grow as big as Ketchikan that gets 1 million cruise passengers a year. You get some local vendors and some local business people that start getting the money that comes from that, you might get a different tune from the town folk. Just saying. I mean, look what in Maine, after all the years of success in Maine, they just ripped the heart out of the cruise industry in one of the main cruise ports. I don't see that happening in Alaska. I see it possibly going the other way. That's my thought on that one. So, I'll do that. That's going to the wrong thing. Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm making a mess of things technically. That's nothing unusual. All right, the last news story of the day. The port of Cadiz in Spain today welcomed the MSC Seascape for the ship's maiden call before she set sail across the Atlantic for her official naming ceremony on December 7th in New York. The maritime tradition of a crest exchange took place on board MSC's newest ship between the master of the vessel, Captain From case, I practiced this all morning, so Dennis would be proud of me. Let me go back and try to do that again. The captain of the vessel, Captain Francesco Francesco, yes, Francesco, okay, Francesco, there we go, Francesco di Palma, Francesco di Palma, there we go. I'm trying to get the right pronunciation of the man's name. Sorry about going back over it here. I thought I had it down this morning. Well, that's a couple hours ago. And okay. Anyway, that guy and officials from the Spanish Port Authority in Cadiz. So they did that business. And then the ship takes off. That's the first actual port of call for the Seascape. And then she takes off on a 17-night grand voyage from Europe to the U.S. Has about 3,255 guests on board, according to a company statement. And of course, she's going to go do this little naming thing in New York, and then she's coming down to Florida to pick up the fat travel guy. I will be getting on her on December 11th on the back end of my side-to-side cruises that I'm doing from Florida. I leave here on December the 1st. And by the way, that's another one. I'll point this out now. There will be no show at all on December 1st. Because at 8 o'clock that morning, I'm in the dentist chair. And I will get out of the chair and get in the car and start driving. Well, that's going to put me about 4 hours behind my normal schedule for the day. And I've got to get to Orangeburg, South Carolina that night to break up this trip properly for getting to Fort Lauderdale the following day. So I don't have the time to stop along the way and get set up in a McDonald's and do the show. So that day, there'll be no show. But that's not of course, the main news is Monday. Just keep in mind, Monday morning, the show will be live at 10 a.m. rather than 11 a.m. All right. In the chat room today, we've got Kenneth. Kenneth's up there in snowy, cold Pennsylvania. Kenneth's with us. Hot Air's with us. Sounds to me like Twitter was going bankrupt and had very poor work ethic. It will improve. I don't know. I'm just saying, the reason I talk specifically to my Twitter folks is we don't want to lose them. So the easiest way, hop over and subscribe to the channel. That'll help the channel out, number one. And number two, then if something does happen with Twitter, they're covered. They just switch over to YouTube to find me instead of catching the show on Twitter. I was relatively surprised to find out how many people actually watched the show on Twitter. It was eye-opening to me. Nikki's with us up in Jacksonville. There's Katie. Hi, Katie. I tell you what, you and Angela have been doing it right on this cruise. I know you guys always do them up right, but boy, this just seems like this is spectacular to me. Mike's with us. Hi, Mike. Hot Air says, interesting dress, Angela. I know that she's every night. That's 3 times on this cruise that I've seen her dressed up in a completely different outfit. So, I mean, you know how women are. I mean, I'm sure she's got shoes that match the dress and the purse that does this and Give me my sport coat and a shirt. I'll wear Bermuda shorts underneath. I don't care. I don't have to match anywhere. But that's me. Hot Air says my turkey was coconut shrimp, sadly. Well, actually, if they were good coconut shrimp, I wouldn't be worried about that, Hot Air. Some of you know that we went to a chain buffet yesterday. How the mighty have fallen from a household that did major Thanksgiving meals every year for the entire clan. And then for 10 years or so that I was up in Harrisonburg every Thanksgiving, and Peggy and I cooked for 40. That's a 40. 40 people, which we started on Monday cooking for 40. It was 2 25-pound turkeys and a ham and oysters. And I used to do stuffing, and this was doing stuffing the old-fashioned way. I mean, starting from, cubed up bread. I used to mix my stuffing in a 5-gallon bucket and fill up the 5-gallon bucket. And then, of course, you had to portion it out to cook it, because you got to cook. But yeah, I did for 40. And then when I came back home again, my mother had already gone. And so we didn't do that at home. So we did for the first couple years I was back. We did dinners here. And then my sister and brother-in-law started going to Morgantown to some relatives of his every year. So they were gone. So that just left me and Amanda. So we would go out, and do, various restaurants that were open. And usually some of Amanda's friends would join us. And then a couple of the years, Amanda was gone, and I was running her pet sitting business while she was gone. So I was running around all day Thanksgiving Day, taking care of, 19 houses of pets, the biggest year. So yeah, we've done Cracker Barrel, and then there's another local buffet that I've been to a couple times that I thought was really good. Well, this year we thought at first that Gene and Jean would be gone. Well, actually, my brother-in-law was gone, but my sister stayed here. So there was Amanda and my sister and me and a friend of Amanda. So there was 4 of us. And we went to Golden Corral for Thanksgiving dinner. I will make no comment about that. Nikki says, what an early riser. What's on your agenda? Yeah, wait a minute. That's right. Hot air time. What is it, like 4 o'clock in the morning in Hawaii? It's 11 o'clock here. I think it's 6 hours, 6-hour difference. No, 4, 5, 6, 8-hour difference. I don't remember. It's the middle of the night. And Hot Air says, we're going to the Polynesia Culture Center to pick up at 10 a.m. Won't get back until 10 p.m. Hot Air time, when you first get to Hawaii, you're supposed to take a day to rest to get your time acclimated to Hawaii time. You don't start going right after you get off the damn airplane. I got to give Hot Air Tom hell about something. Robert's with us. My favorite airport anywhere, Denver. I flew in and out of Denver one time, and it was at night, and I never got to see. I mean, you can't see that much flying in and out at night. Not this gorgeous mountains and stuff that you take off. I mean, I would love to fly out of Denver in daylight. So I did appreciate watching the takeoff, even though it seemed like it took forever to get that plane off the ground. And Nikki wants to know, Katie, when you were back home? Robert says, just so happens to be my hometown. Oh, really? I didn't know that. But that doesn't play a part in my opinion. I appreciate that. I mean, I enjoyed the hot air time taking off from Denver. I thought that was terrifically well worth watching, actually. Was a 777 fully loaded. Okay, I can believe that. And he did have trouble with internet, and then the power strip for his seat didn't work, and so there were problems. But anyway, Katie says she gets home tomorrow. Sea day today, back in Tampa tomorrow. Any good ads for Norwegian Cruise Line for Black Friday? Everybody's running some kind of Black Friday thing, and I just don't even look at them. Number one, I don't want to spend my money when I've got 2 big cruises coming up in case I need some extra money while I'm on those cruises. So, yeah, I don't even look at it. Mike says, I've deleted Cruise Amigos on 1st of December as well. Well, that's right. I won't be doing a show on December 1st for Cruise Amigos either. I'll have to tell the guys that if they want to do a show, then they can have at it, but I'm not going to be there. Thank you, Mike. I hadn't thought about that one, so I'll have to talk to the guys, because that's definitely, I'm going to be running behind schedule, and sure can't do 2 shows. All right, Mike, you're correct, and I had not thought about that. I have a tendency to try to forget about Cruise Amigos anymore. But all right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. A lot of you guys are probably going to go out shopping. Not me. You couldn't pay me enough to go get in those idiot stores today. If I can't buy it online, I ain't buying it. So that's just me and the way I am. Bah humbug. Can I start doing the bah humbug thing yet? No, I'm not going to bah humbug because I'm going on 2 cruises. So I don't have to bah humbug until I get home on the 21st, 20th, or whatever day I get, I'm getting home. So that's going to wrap me up for today, guys. Thanks for being with me. Again, Monday, live show at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. By 11 o'clock, when you normally see this show, it will be up for replay. All right, that's Monday. And again, all you guys over on Twitter, if you're still on board, hop over to Chillie's, CHILLIE''S, Cruises. Search that on YouTube, and you can subscribe. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today. As always, guys, stay safe, stay healthy. Think about cruising. Some of you might be booking cruises today. That's okay. And hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. This is the old fat travel guy. Stay warm, everybody. Have a terrific weekend. I'll see you Monday at 10 a.m. Later, y'all.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. Hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chillie's Cruises.